a little bit different direction. Sometimes you got this idea and you're doing this thing because you love it, and you're every day you're putting everything into it, and you're just not getting much out of it. But then out of the blue, something happens, and you realize you might be in the wrong business. That's a really important point, to be grown up enough and big enough to say, you know what, the thing that I thought the world would want, that I really wanted, isn't it, but they really want this other thing. So I'm going to be big enough to step away from this and go do that. And the case here is Potbelly Sandwiches. They're a sandwich shop, like a kind of like a Subway or that type of thing. I don't know if they're international or not, but they're here in the United States. And they started out as an antique shop in a city, and antiques were not selling well. So they kind of brainstormed. They did a great job brainstorming. Say, hey, let's make some sandwiches to draw people to the store. And while they're munching on their sandwich, maybe they'll look at some antiques. They'll buy some antiques. Well, within a few months, there was a line around the block for the sandwiches, but they still weren't moving many antiques. So it sort of occurred to them, say, maybe we'll just ditch the antiques and put in some tables and sell sandwiches. And to this day, if you walk into a Potbelly sandwich shop, you'll see a little Potbelly stove there that kind of honors their heritage, and that this whole business came on a pivot. Keeping in mind, pivots are on either customer, problem, or solution. And here was the problem. Their customers didn't have a problem with antiques; they had a problem with hunger, and so they moved to something else.
Excellent. That sounds good. Yeah, my example is perhaps a bit more well known, and I guess you have to remember that this particular company launched when the big sort of monopoly in this marketplace was Blockbuster, where you would go to a store and you would rent in person a video. I guess it would be NSTS, is it, in the States? There's the format, and over here there are different formats for videos and things.
Yeah.
Depending on the video players that you used to have. Back in the day, you'd have to go to the shop to kind of hire this thing. And there was a company that called themselves Netflix, who used to send you DVDs in the post that you could rent.
We used to get them.
And then once you'd watched the film, you could send it back in the post, and that would seem to be a lot more convenient than having to, jump in your car or walk down the road to your nearest Blockbuster to go and talk to somebody in the shop. And of course, DVDs became less prevalent. I mean, the whole online revolution, digital media coming along, and so. As everybody knows, Netflix then pivoted to become an online streaming hub, where instead of renting your films through the post, they're saving a lot of money by not actually, by getting rid of the cost of postage these days, because you just go on their website and pay for a subscription.
Ironically, late in the game, Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix, and they
really.
They did, at least somebody told me that, and they didn't see the value in streaming video. They just didn't see it. But that's the thing. High-speed internet wasn't quite a big thing yet, so it's hard to see it when there was no highway for it to drive on, which is interesting.
I think there are lots of examples of that, aren't there? There's I think at one point was it Apple had the opportunity to buy Microsoft PCs or something, didn't they? And closer to home for me, I used to work for a company called Charles Letts & Co. I don't know whether you've got Letts Diaries in America, Bill, but it's a brand over here which is like, there was a guy called Charles Letts who was a soldier in the Napoleonic Wars at the Battle of Waterloo, and he spotted that people back to their loved ones, and he thought, well, what if you actually just write it down in a book? So that was the world's first diary.
Wow.
And it was like a family business. It went down there 7 or 8 generations. And then in a room in the 1980s, somebody came to a meeting at the Charles Letts board and said, we've got this new company called Filofax. And Charles, the board at Charles Letts said, no, that will never catch on. And of course, Filofax became a big thing for a while. I mean, obviously, it's gone away again now. But that was where, I don't know whether people remember, but you could you could write things down on a piece of paper, but then you could open up your lever arch file thing and take out that bit of paper and replace it with a new piece of paper. So you didn't have to keep replacing your diary every year. You could just put some new paper in your leather bound gizmo. So I don't know whether you ever had those, Bill. Filofax. Does that ring a bell? I don't know. Maybe probably,
no.
Okay, maybe it was probably called something else in the States. I mean, I'll have to look that up. Yeah. Yes. And we've had a nice piece of feedback from somebody in the audience that somebody's niece works for Potbelly.
Oh yeah, Julie said that. Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah,
they make a good sandwich. I've been there, but the location nearest to me moved, so I don't know where they are now.
Is it actually pork, or is it just any old type of sandwich?
It's what?
Potbelly suggests that it's kind of pork belly, you know, but I don't know.
That's what I thought. I thought it was like, is it like a fat sandwich sort of? Yeah. You know, no, it's just it's the Potbelly stove. It's not.
Right.
It's a fairly standard. It's a good sandwich, but it's a fairly standard sandwich. It's just it's the Potbelly stove. So,
okay.
Yeah.